and is related to tribes in this arena right
We'll
now.
understand too that the water is there,
Right.
the air is there.
I think that we can all identify that as history, and as something that I think most of us in this room have a great heart for, and understand that it's an incredibly meaningful thing to the tribes in this room right now. And unfortunately, that the reality that we are at right now is that, you know, you probably have a home that you own and your own property, and you probably would not want the Siskiyou County or, you know, the Wintu tribe coming in to do something on your property.
Well, I acknowledge that my house
Right.
resides on Shasta, within the Shasta Nation. And my title, even though it does not show it, has a cloud on it. There is a lien based upon the tribal sovereignty, okay? It is an unextinguished sovereignty over the land. They entered into a treaty. The treaty was not ratified. And therefore, their title to the land is unextinguished. It is not incorporated in the United States, and therefore legally could not be incorporated into the state of California, okay? Therein lies the crux of the matter, okay? And here you're trying to put your footprint on their land, and there's, normally, when I built my house, they didn't say no, okay? They said, go for it, make it a nice one, okay? But what your footprint that you're putting on their land, they're saying, no, we object. And you're just going on saying, well, it doesn't really matter, give us it in writing, and I don't see, already reading through this, I don't see the word sovereignty even mentioned. And that is a big word, as I said, God, King, Lord and Master.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay, and so just so that we're on the same page with this document, this is a draft. And so if you have anything to add to this, changes, I can see Belinda already has
Well,
some.
I mean, when you say that tribes have been included and there's not one tribe listed in the entities, that's not good.
Are you on the
I'm
impact?
on the relation to local water use planning. and
Okay, we'll
relation
get
to local
to that
land
one. We will absolutely get to that, absolutely.
planning. Non-integrated.
Okay, okay.
You say that the tribes have sovereignty, and yet you say, well, we're all on the same level. Isn't that talking out of both sides of your mouth?
That's an agreement that the tribes actually participated in.
No, we were
making.
voted down. We had no choice. That's the trouble with this. Tribal sovereignty was not recognized. As Marge says, we're thrown under the bus by the state and you, and that's that.
You cannot sell, trade, give away, extinguish sovereignty in any way, shape, or form. It is always there, it will always be there, and whether you say we're going to ignore it or not, does not make it go away.
And that is
And you
absolutely
are
correct.
making it go away.
Well, we're not trying, I mean, if
No.
you're saying that.
If you
nothing
have
should
not
go away.
included it, you're making it go away, and you cannot do that.
Well, we would love to include it, and as I said, if
Then-
you have comments about what we would like to be in here, we welcome them.
We've
And
been
this-
commenting and commenting at every meeting, and
Yep.
it just go, you still haven't addressed it.
If you remember, the process for commenting is actually submitting written comments. And we're happy to meet with you one-on-one. if
It doesn't
you'd like
mean
to
anything,
do
it
that.
doesn't show up anyplace.
Yeah, excuse
But we
me.
haven't received any written comments from you.
Okay, just a minute.
There was a letter.
Just a minute. Tribal sovereignty
aware of
supersedes
what's
that of the state powers. We are above state powers. You're forgetting that. The state won't recognize it. So now what it's come down to is, I've written tribal ordinance, it's named sustainable development, and that's what this is. And you're not recognizing it. So,
You have
the state, Marge here has related it, the state is going to ignore it. You are going to ignore it. So we're going to exert, we're going to use our tribal inherent sovereign authority. This is the only thing the state is going to recognize, is that you're going to have to go back to the state and say, hey, we need to fix this, or like this gentleman down here says, go find another piece of land. to move on or move away.
I just have one question.
Okay, this is the last one, and then we need to
No,
go
it's
on
not
to the
the last
next section.
Why should you be allowed to continue with your program without the basis, the common foundation of this land not being included, these sovereign people? Why should you be allowed?
Well, what we're working through is through a state process, and the state has identified guidelines and actually a legal process. They have a contract in place to satisfy the guidelines and to create this plan. And so what we're doing actually is a legal process, and it is a contractually obligated process. So that is why we're going forward. All right, we really need to move on to the next section. Actually, what we talked about in the governance, we had a discussion about MOU earlier today, and one of the items, excuse me, I
Sovereign
can come to you in a
authority
moment.
supersedes, we gotta settle this before you go on.
We
Yeah.
cannot settle.
Well, then it's over.
Well, you
You'll
know,
have to go
that's
back to
not
the state
fair.
and address the state how we're gonna address this. Mark, speak up.
I'm not sure how far you say.
I just,
Want to go?
I don't see how you can continue.
Tribal sovereign inherent power, with powers above that of the state, I could say that we need to, this is the only way we're gonna get the state to recognize that we're thrown under the bus here. We're gonna continue on as a stakeholder with one vote amongst all these other groups, whoever they are. I know who they are. For the sake of it, they could be anybody with equal say to our, concerning our sovereign powers, and that's wrong. It has to stop somewhere.
So,
So this is where it's gonna have to stop.
I have one hand up here, and then we need to say something.
Well, my name's Curtis Knight. I work for Cal-Trout. We've been involved with this process for a while. We're involved with these processes throughout the state. We see them as an opportunity to get already allocated state money to water infrastructure needs of certain areas. And that's not a statement to try to oversimplify what is obviously a very complex issue, water. And certainly, for California Trout's perspective, we have great respect for the tribes and their sovereign rights and all that that brings. And I think that is an extremely complex issue with a long history. And our concern here is that we are losing out on an opportunity for this area, and specifically for the cities. The cities need water infrastructure money for their water supplies and their sewage treatment plants. That's the best fit for this state money that's sitting down in Sacramento, waiting for us to say, hey, can we do that? We have until March to identify those as priorities. I'm not sure we can get there. I'm not sure everybody shares those priorities. This is Cal-Trout's opinion, but to us, that's the best fit for those monies. It'd be a nice first step to take. I think what's really encouraging about this is that we have so many different interest groups together in one place talking about water in Siskiyou County. That doesn't happen very often. And it doesn't happen very often, so this opportunity, when it comes, opens up a lot of issues. But I just want to make sure people are clear from at least our perspective at what the single opportunity, the first one, doesn't have to be the only one, but we see it as a single, achievable opportunity to bring some allocated state dollars to something that's greatly needed for our municipalities. Thank you.
And one of the things I was going to add is that the point of this process and why all of the stakeholders agreed to the governance structure last fall is that the point of the structure is to get funding to the cities for desperately needed infrastructure improvements in terms of water and sewer lines, delivery, supply issues.
So I'm supposed to surrender my sovereignty so you get some money?
I'm not getting the money.
I don't care. You as whoever. All right, I'm supposed to surrender my sovereignty so somebody else
Nobody
gets to
is surrendering
stick their nose in the trough.
Even Mr. Hall has said that you value city infrastructure and you would not want to get in the way of projects like that.
That's
Isn't
right,
that
but they're getting it, the price is too high.
You're
What he
demanding
said
our
is right. We are giving up This is part of the Agenda 21 process. That's a dirty word to some, but that's the truth.
These issues aren't going to be resolved here today, and I think we need to move forward with the document because there are good things that can happen here. Somebody's going to get that money, and this is something that's not going to be resolved today. It's been going on for a long time.
If you understood what I said, the price is too high. The price is too high for the Shasta Nation.
I think that as Margie has said, this is an issue you have to resolve with the state.
Yes.
Just is not the forum to resolve that in. And other regional water management groups are going forward and are going to be competing for that money that will be available next year. And if we don't have a plan in place, this region is not going to be eligible for that funding. So we'll miss out again. We've already missed out on 2 funding rounds.
Missed out.
Hey, this is the wrong format. You're standing right there saying that we agreed to be in this. No, we didn't. All these stakeholders, Cal-Trout and these others, outvoted us.
Nobody has to
No,
be here.
listen,
It's not mandatory.
that's right. So why don't you go back to where you came from?
I was
Like
hired.
you said, we didn't ask you to be here.
Actually, I was hired to assess.
Okay.
We have some stakeholders leaving who are valuable parts of this process
I got a
right
story
now.
yet. I'm the project director here, and a couple of things need to be said. We have guidelines for doing this urban project. The North Coast has a region. I don't know, it seems like from the introductions, all of you are from the North County, and there is a North Coast Regional Water Management Plan up there. It's been in place for, what, 8 years or 7 years?
Approximately.
Yeah, and they've been going through their process. This area doesn't have one. You know, it's probably no skin off the nose of somebody from the North County that the South County communities that desperately need help on their infrastructure will get left out because of some issues that the guidelines don't address. We're trying to comply with the guidelines. The states need to collaborate with as many people as possible, collaborate with the Native American tribes, and we're glad to do so, and we've done so. But we can't resolve all the issues that come up. We can acknowledge them, we can say, yes, sovereignty is an issue. And we can go around and around, and again, I know it may not concern a lot of people that we're running against a time frame and that the cities and some of the other landowners and people that want to have some projects come out of this, that they may lose out. But we're trying to comply with the guidelines. If there are some issues, and we've discussed sovereignty before, and I feel the state took ownership of that. They said, yes, okay, when Ms. Dobbs came up and she said, okay, you're going to have to talk to the state. We can't, talking to us doesn't do any good. So I think as far as, and I hope I'm speaking for some of the other stakeholders that have been involved in this process for a long time, we've gone over this issue, we can't address it, so we feel like we need to put it to rest and move on.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's where you're wrong.
That's where you're wrong.
The state has let you down.
Yeah.
We didn't let you down. The state has let you
Yeah.
down by not doing their job and making this, giving us answers. So this could move on. So it's now the fact that the state has not done their job, they won't answer, they don't respond. They have let you down, so now a tribe, we can exert, we can use our tribal authority whenever we choose, and we choose now. We have tried to work with you. We have done everything we possibly can. I think you have to agree. You guys outvoted us. As she said here, oh, we agreed? No, we didn't. We were outvoted. Our sovereignty was done. And that's wrong. That is illegal. Tribes have sovereign powers over state, and that's what we're using today. And if you don't like it, you need to take it back to the state, because this should have been settled, what'd you say, 2 years ago?
So we did take.
So that, how long is it gonna take? 2 more years? You're
So
gonna be
we've
done.
taken this to the state. The state has informed us that the proper forum for discussing this issue is with the state.
Then you should be stopped until that's settled.
that-
No,
that-
this
that-
should be shut down
that is-
until that's
that is
settled,
not-
because these people have more
You can't.
info and more input than this group. And if you are against a timeline, sir, that's your problem. That's what they always do. That's what the courts do. You know, it's like the court in California says, you have 2 years to sue us. We have a lifetime to sue you.
So I appreciate that we have a disagreement. We've had,
Well, you should be.
disagreement has gone on for quite a while.
We'll
And the
go
state
further.
has instructed us, the state which oversees our contract, the state has instructed us that this is an issue we cannot deal with.
Then you need to be stopped.
The state is dealing with it. They have not stopped our contract. If the state stopped our contract, we would stop. In the meantime, we need to work forward to gain those dollars that would be so
Money,
for the
money.
cities and counties in this region.
It's all about the money, isn't it?
Now we ignore our tribal sovereignty.
I just want to pose a question to the group. Why is it that all these other regions in the whole state of California have been able to move forward and go through this planning and implementation process, and why is it that we cannot move forward?
Because you have Native Americans that were not recognized by the federal or the state. Matter of fact, they still have the record sealed. They still have the record sealed. They're trying to suppress these people like this group is by ignoring them. That's why. It's real simple.
I think that this group has given quite ample voice. Betty, what last comment, and then we need to move forward.
No, we're not.
Well, this won't be the last for me. But you said before, 3-4 meetings back, where we're gonna get somebody up here from the state to tell us about sovereignty. The attitude was, you're just gonna put us in our place. That's the way I felt. Okay, that's my feelings. All right. Finally, Jennifer Dobbs got here. She's a liaison for the tribes with the government offices. She brought the mandate, the orders from the governor's office, didn't she? She gave it to you.
I wasn't at that meeting, but
But
yes,
I'm sure
I
you've seen
understand that she
it.
did.
I'm sure you,
Yes,
most
it was-
of your
yes,
agencies got it.
And her mandate was, she was directed to set up a meeting with the governor, which I understand. the
That
governor's
happened,
office
but you
had.
also brought the document from the governor's office, along with like the Native American Heritage Commission. You have to recognize us. You have to recognize our water, you have to recognize everything for the tribes. And you have just ignored it, it never showed up anyplace. Why?
Well, that's, so.
Why? Oh, we just don't push it off, you're just gonna ignore it.
So you've only seen.
And that came from the governor's office.
So we've only seen.
Does that mean anything?
It absolutely does.
Answer me. Okay,
Yeah.
do it.
I am answering. So in, not in the sections that we have shared with you already today, but in other sections of the plan, there's a description of the challenges that this group has expressed related to tribal sovereignty, as well as the state planning process and the integration of the state issues. So,
Just know what you're saying here,
no,
right now.
it hasn't. What's that? No, I mean, it's, the issues that have been presented in this group are described and could be further described with input from all of you. At the last meeting, we left a board up for people to, of those issues, and asking for your feedback on additional information to include in the plan. We haven't received those written documents, but we have described to some extent, as best we can, the issues that have been raised around tribal sovereignty in.
Now, did you look up sovereignty in the dictionary by any chance?
I think part of the problem is that obviously we are not Native American, and obviously I do not understand sovereignty.
You've been told and told me. How many times do we have to tell you?
Right, but what I'm saying is that I need you to provide
You need
this on the
Jennifer told you.
And so we've received.
You're ignoring her?
So we've received some written input from members of the Pibber tribe, from members of the Winnemucca tribe.
The Winnemucca tribe doesn't count here.
No.
Well,
Because they do not belong on the, I mean, they're